Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Purview PODcast. PrideOfDetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us. We're here with our Purview podcast for week 3 of the National Football League. Lions at Cardinals. Lions took it on the chin a little bit from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We broke it all down on our Pride of Detroit PODcast and in the midweek mailbag with Jeremy and Eric. Long story short, over 400 yards of offense and not the kind of requisite points they needed to show for that effort. The Lions are now 1-1, and they now head on the road for their first big road test, taking on the 1-1 Arizona Cardinals, who, in spite of that 1-1 record, looked very feisty last week with a lot of offense, 41 points on the bedridden LA Rams. Kyler Murray throwing 3 touchdowns in that game. Marvin Harrison Jr. Popping up on radars finally for his rookie year. A lot to break down in this game. I am Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter. Let's introduce the crew. Jerry Mallory is back with us for the first time in forever. If you are a longtime true believer of the PODcast, you remember Jerry. Jerry is an old friend. Jerry would pop up every now and then, and I'm happy to say that Jeremy is now part of the Purview rotation. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, what's up, man? It's been a long time, but I've been around. I'm hanging out in the Slack. I'll do a little bit on the site, but it's good to be back here. This is like my element. So
yeah,
thanks for having me.
We were getting everything set up at the last second too, just slapping everything together. We've got a brand new setup for him and everything. And Jerry looks clean as hell because that's what he brings every time to PODcast. And also clean as hell, and thankfully with a shirt on, and a very good shirt for that matter, is Hamza Bakush at Hamza POD. Jerry, by the way, at Jerry Mallory NFL. Hamza, hello again.
Good to be back.
Well, we're rotating through, and Hamza was gracious enough to join us for all of this. So we've got a little time to rewind to last Sunday, and it was a tough one for the Detroit Lions. I already mentioned it, over 400 yards of offense, but only 16 points really to show for it. 1 of 7 in the red zone being the real issue takeaway here. I didn't really think, the defense I thought played very well, all things said and done, and you had Aiden Hutchinson having one hell of a sack day for himself. So with all these things going on right now, what was your kind of one takeaway, Jerry, from the last game, especially as you look forward to the season? And is it an issue that you think is fixable, or might just be sticking with the Lions for a while?
Well, yeah, everything's fixable. 2 weeks in, you don't really know, who your opponent is completely. You don't know yourself completely. We have an idea, we were a playoff squad. We played 2 playoff squads. But yeah, anything we see right now, good or bad, is fixable. But my takeaway, aside from just general disappointment, is one of our strengths last year, red zone, is a weakness. And so you just start running theories in your head. Like, even though you're patient on things and you don't really go too far, I can't help myself. It's, I'm a fan just like anyone else. So you start playing those scenarios in your head. Hey, have they figured things out about Ben Johnson? Is the zone going to be too much? And so, my one takeaway when I have all of those thoughts is just to center myself and say patience. So my one takeaway is just be patient with the team. It was disappointing, but it's just week 2. We lost week 2 last year as well.
Yeah, for me, it's just, this is a completely different blueprint, completely different team. You look at some teams, there's a lot of turnover. It feels like the Lions didn't have too much turnover, and it felt like they were building on what they had already, minus, say, Josh Reynolds' departure. But, what we've seen through 2 weeks is completely almost the opposite of what we knew before. Like Jerry pointed out, the red zone was their strength before, and now it's, I don't want to blow it out of proportion. I know we spent all week talking about how it's an anomaly, but it's still something to note so far. And then pass rush it being your strength. Interior pass rush for that matter. Obviously, Terry and Arnold has growing pains as well on the back end, but generally speaking, secondary's been strong, defense carrying the team, and offense really nowhere to be found. It's just different problems, different blueprint. We're going to look at different solutions throughout the season than what we knew all of last year.
Well, they found offense. It's getting home. I think when you're 1-7 from the red zone, that connotes a play calling problem. at
Yeah.
that point.
I mean,
Maybe you have to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense some credit too. You know, when they work with a shorter field, you can definitely keep teams out. But a lot of the issues were self-inflicted, especially on stuff like bubble screens, kind of wasting downs. Those were spied
Absolutely.
the entire time, just kind of a real struggle for it. I think my big takeaway from last time is that this new vaunted secondary is going to take some time. As you say, there is definitely adding DJ Reader and being added in week 2, seeing him out there along with Hutchinson and everyone else you kind of have the full top personnel now of your defensive front 7, and it looked a lot better on versus week 1, especially when it comes to getting Aiden Hutchinson home. The secondary, the DBs, those are going to take some time. They're all kind of new to it. And as we get into injuries, definitely something that is going to really stick out, because I think, we're sitting here recording this on a Thursday. We don't know what the full status of these guys are. But I would say that 2 practices, you don't have Terry and Arnold or Ennis Rakestraw or a Fatu Melifonwu out there. There are a few banged up situations on the DBs right now, and I think that's kind of the main concern. We did see some concern with Alex Anzalone, who got banged up for the Buccaneers game, but he was back, and so was Graham Glasgow as well. I kind of expect both those guys to play, but outlook on the injuries, Jerry, because again, like this is a lot of young DBs, and it's clearly going to take some time to get them right.
Yeah, I mean that's where depth comes into place. I mean, you're going to have injuries. Marcus Davenport, I mean, that was kind of expected, right? He should play this week. How many games will we have him? We don't know. But Levi Onwuzurike, he seems like a adequate guy on the defensive line so far this year. Even with the secondary, Arnold, Rakestraw, are they going to play? Are they not? We can't say for sure, but you still got Carlton Davis, you still got Amik Robertson. So I don't worry about injuries too much, except for like very select individuals. Frank Ragnow being one. And to piggyback off of worry about him being injured, I think he had a bad game last week as well. And that was a big reason why the offense wasn't clicking. So guys like Ragnow, Panay, obviously Jared Goff, they're kind of irreplaceable. But everyone else, you're going to get some guys in and out. We just kind of got to deal with it, man. And if I could comment on one other thing you said with the play calling, frustration is another word, that I would use, because a minute and a half left, we were like 10 yards out. Did they not see the week before? Give it to David Montgomery 3 times, 4 times, run right behind Ragnow, run behind Panay Sewell. They just completely, like, were they overthinking that or something, Chris, to where, hey, this is what they're expecting us to do. This is what worked last week. Let's change it up. That was completely just, frustrating the whole time.
No, I think that was a lot of just, you kind of had the clock against you at that point. And I'm not going to say the Buccaneers, I think, are a little better at stopping the run than the Rams were. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely points where it's like you could probably try to figure out something with that. But yeah, getting back to injuries, Hamza, we've kind of known Arnold's development is going to take some time. He's not probably, if I had to guess right now, I don't think he would play on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not too
But it is
concerned
illness, so I mean,
yeah, you never know in that case, right? I mean, we're still 3 days out. A lot can change, but even then, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, strictly from the standpoint of we've seen him struggle a lot through 2 weeks, right? At this point, if Meek Robertson gets his snaps, if
Kindle
Khalil Dorsey
Vildor.
snaps, Kindle Vildor, right?
Yeah.
The Cardinals are very, they have a fast receiving core, especially outside of Marvin Harrison. I know he's more of a kind of big body jump ball guy. But I think the smaller, more agile guys might match up better, especially it's a very shifty Cardinals offense, very focused on acceleration versus speed more so than, playing bully ball. So from that standpoint, I'm not worried about it. If a guy like Glasgow or Alex Anzalone was out for the game, then I'd have a lot more concerns, especially Alex Anzalone. I always, I think he is a huge part of the secondary success because he holds down the middle. But those guys being back, I'm not terribly concerned. If Fatu Melifonwu has been gone 2 weeks, Brian Branch has really stepped up, and the safeties have looked, pretty solid through 2 weeks. I don't really want to test that theory against a good Cardinals offense. They've gotten creative this year, but I don't think like Terran Arnold's absence, does it suck? Yeah, but I don't think it's a huge drop off for the Lions D.
Yeah, he's been struggling, I feel like, these 2 weeks, and I think probably giving some more time to, yeah, either Dorsey or Vildor out there. And I think Vildor has been playing, once again, still fairly well to start this year. So I think
Yeah.
you just kind of roll with those guys and you just try to bottle up what might be a interesting second game for third game, excuse me, for Marvin Harrison Jr.
First full week with the defensive line, maybe. So that's good because week 1 it was no Reader, week 2 it was no Davenport, and they're all trending to play. Levi's been a big contributor, so that's a positive thing I'm looking forward to on the injury front. It looked like we're going to have a full strength on that front line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they're going to need it.
yeah, and I think to Hamza's point earlier, like this is starting to look like a lot more of a pass rush first team. Like just kind of what they were doing last year, right? Like where that's Aaron Glenn's motto is get the pass rush in, get to the quarterback, make him make mistakes, and then just be opportunistic in that regard.
Absolutely.
And he just
Yeah.
seems to have
He
the
was kind
personnel
of
for it.
yeah, I feel like he was forced to get creative with the blitz last year. Like he started sending Melon Fonwu in for blitz and Brian Branch. But like you say, if that front four can get home without bringing extra people in, that's AG's recipe right there. And they've been
Yeah.
doing it so far.
I mean, I think that we might even see some of that this week with the creativity from the blitzes. I think it'd be really helpful against a guy like Kyler Murray, who, yeah, you can send your best pass rushers out there, a guy like Marcus Davenport, a guy like James Houston. But what you really need is discipline. You got to have at least one guy spying or containing against a guy like Kyler Murray. You just go, 3rd and 12, just balls to the wall pass rushing is not going to work the way it works against Matthew Stafford or Baker Mayfield, like kind of shot us back with that last week. So Kyler Murray is going to make you pay if you don't play smart. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Glenn tries to get creative, especially from his blind side this week.
To that effect, let's look back to Cardinals Rams in a bit of a blowout. Kyler Murray did have 5 carries for 59 yards in that game. So I think he is a lot more of a drop back quarterback now, but he clearly does not mind showing that when you give him, say, the middle of the field wide open. If your pass rush gets a little too far upfield, and suddenly he's just going to make a break for it. And I think we talked a little bit about that on the POD cast about is this a problem where it's just the Lions aren't good with containing these running quarterbacks, or is it just a matter of the pass rush getting a little too far up the field? It might be a little bit of both here, but it was one hell of a blowout. I don't know if 40-point games are going to be the style of the Arizona Cardinals. I do remember they got out to a pretty quick lead on the Buffalo Bills before gagging that game away. And that's definitely something that was kind of something to keep in mind when talking about the Cardinals, because there's a good chance they could have started 2-0 in this, but the big thing from the 41-10 game against the Rams for them was Marvin Harrison Jr. He was blanked in the first game against Buffalo. This game, he was targeted 8 times, caught 4 of them, and he made 130 yards and 2 touchdowns out of it, including a long of 60. Long story short, he is right now their deep threat and showing himself very well. The good news is outside of that, and you guys can maybe speak to that and what you've seen from the Cardinals here, but outside of that seems to be the defining feature of this game, because they don't really, I don't know if they really have someone, a wide receiver anywhere close to Marvin Harrison Jr. after that. Like, Trey McBride is going to get his targets at tight end, but I think dropping off from Marvin Harrison Jr. to Michael Wilson is a bit of a fall.
Yeah, but as a wide receiver too, Michael Wilson certainly holds his own. Greg Dortch at wide receiver 3 certainly holds his own. And I think the really important thing that you have to pay attention to with Kyler Murray that doesn't jump out of the stat box, like you said, 5 rushes, I think it was 59 yards. But you look at the tape and he's out of the pocket a lot more than that. He's very, Russell Wilson-esque in the fact that he's really good at keeping his eyes downfield. He doesn't scramble just to run. If running's the last option, he'll do it. But a lot of the best highlights from last week's game were Kyler Murray bounces out the pocket, he's down the sideline, he's got rushers in his face, and he finds Michael Wilson, finds Marvin Harrison Jr. And so for the Lions, it's going to take a lot of discipline, not just, hey, we need someone to, spy in case he runs, but keep that pocket intact. This is something that, the Lions haven't really dedicated a lot of contain or spies from that we've seen out of Aaron Glenn. We saw a lot more of that out of the Matt Patricia era. And I think going back to before, that's something where having, creative blitzes, blindside blitzes will be really helpful to keep Kyler Murray contained there and not let him find the time and space.
Hey, Hamza, I didn't want to go there, but you mentioned his name, so I'll go there. What I was kind of crossed my mind. Forgive me. I feel like Matt Patricia did better against running quarterbacks than
Yeah.
Dan Campbell. Don't kill me. I think about games against Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, and it seems like, and it was just the defense, the selection of the defense, the style, like you say, with the contain. This defense is a little bit different. When we struggle, when you look at, I don't know if that was last year or the year before, where Justin Fields literally just had 70 yards on one possession where he ran 2-3 times right into the end zone, or Lamar Jackson a few years ago. But even guys that aren't escape artists, Matthew Stafford, uh, he's okay at it, but I wouldn't consider him elite. Baker Mayfield, again, kind of shifty, but they were able to extend plays. We kind of get those close sacks.
Yeah.
Hutchinson came home last week, but so many times it's like, oh, we were right there and we missed them. This is kind of a nightmare scenario because this is the king of escapability with Kyler Murray. I think that highlight from last week, if it wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr., it was like that 10-second play that he maneuvered and he was escaping. So I am worried about that. It's kind of like our weakness. We don't really play to mobile quarterbacks that great. And then you got one of the best mobile quarterbacks, that we're going to be playing this week. So
Yeah, and I think part of that is just the objective of the defense. So the Matt Patricia era, I mean, there was a lot more zone than we saw before, and that's a lot more conducive to limiting the damage if quarterbacks scramble. Matt Patricia was very inclined to keeping edge rushers in contain, adding a linebacker to spy. Aaron Glenn doesn't do that. When you're playing man, it's a lot more difficult to do that. It's one guy you got to keep open, or a safety could taken away. But especially with the Lions lacking pass rush historically, it's kind of like, you're telling your guys like Aiden Hutchinson to just get upfield and get some pressure at all costs. And that comes at the cost of being a little reckless and maybe opening up a gap between the tackle and the guard, or leaving a little space or going a little wide. So I'm really curious to see what the strategy is here. And I hope it's better than last week, because I know we look at the yardage, we look at the stats and the score, and there was a lot of conflicting narratives on Twitter. A lot of people, myself included, during the game expressed frustration with Aaron Glenn. And then after the game, a lot of people were like, whoa, well, like, Aaron Glenn isn't at fault here. But I think it was more so specifically that one drive where Baker Mayfield took like half of it on the ground, just running the ball. And that being the same exact problem we've seen for the last 2-3 years that hasn't gotten fixed was the source of frustration. So I really hope we don't see too much of that this week.
Let's take a quick break, and we come back on the Purview podcast. I do want to talk about matchups in this regard. We haven't also touched on the run game and the defense for the Cardinals as well, and how we think a lot of these are going to match up. And I do want to pose some questions as far as Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. How we think, what is the plan if we want to look to Jared Goff and say, here's how you have a bounce back game. What does that look like? And what does it look like for Ben Johnson to come out, and if he got a victory in this game, say, yeah, I adjusted and we figured out red zone issues? We'll talk about that and a lot more after the break here on the PODcast Purview. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I know I keep flashing my anime background a little bit, because everything goes like invisible when I like want to swap my bajillion windows to say hello to everyone. I should probably clean those up for a little bit. But hi, we're in a break for a little bit, and then
what's up, folks?
We'll get back soon, because I know that we have Thursday night football here in about 30 minutes.
Yep. Jets, and who are they playing? I know Jets are playing because I got
Jets
Brees
and
Hall.
Patriots.
Okay.
Because I don't know if Kittle's going to play, so I had to swap him out for Hunter Henry.
He had a nice little game last week, didn't he? Or was it the first week?
Yes. He hit. No. It was last week. Hunter Henry. It's just, for those who know the deep Pride of Detroit PODcast lore, Hunter Henry is a name that carries some collective shame between me, Jeremy, and Ryan.
That's a throwback.
And the old list casts.
I don't remember this.
Oh, so you know how we used to do those list casts every year, where we list like the top 10 at every position? Me and Jeremy completely forgot that Hunter Henry was out for the year with an ACL tear, and we both had him in our top 10.
Yeah, that's not the best.
Oopsie.
I feel like I've definitely done worse though.
Ryan felt compelled to tell us only after we had listed it, and we were so flustered we didn't even take it out, and we just kind of like kept it in there. So
Made for good content.
it did. There was also at least the part where it's like, okay. Well, I think the other thing too is that during the Patricia years, it was kind of hard to also find stuff to do in an off season. Schedules kind of moved stuff up. And yeah, there was a lot of things. We've talked about Listcast before and why we don't do Listcast. Let me get to, we only have a few alerts here. So someone named No Decaf, don't know who that is. He sounds like he sucks. Is back with his Prime subscription, 43 in a row, and just says rock. Carolyn Wu with us for 25 months, saying 25 months is the best Lions content in the D. Thank you. I like to think so. And exactly resubscribed Prime with us for 8 months. Cattle Snack says, not as bad as Stephen A. Smith's Hunter Henry fail. I don't remember Stephen A. Smith's Hunter Henry fail.
You got to fill us in. When I seen it, I was kind of wondering the same. What did he do?
Well, let's see what the old Google machine...
That's not a name you could really mess up to something bad. I was trying to work some stuff out with that. What did he do? What did Stephen A. Smith do? What did he do now?
I think so. I guess during a Chargers-Chiefs that night, he said that he's excited about the matchup between Hunter Henry and Derek Johnson. And I do not think Hunter Henry was on the Chargers at the time.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. As an Ohio State fan, I am terrified of Marvin Harrison Jr. I think everyone is a little bit.
He's pretty good. That was a 4:00 game, I think. And, I'm watching it halfway depressed because we lost. And, he did his thing, man. Should be scared.
I'm looking this up. This was week 15 of the year Hunter Henry tore his ACL. And
okay.
Smith said he was looking forward to watching Hunter Henry because of how he's played this year and how effective he's been.
That's right. I think Henry was on the Chargers at the time. Yeah.
And he specified he was excited to see Hunter Henry against Chiefs linebacker Derek Johnson, who the Chiefs let go in May.
Yeah.
Not a great look.
Yeah.
You're right. That's definitely a lot worse than Listcast.
That overlap scene, because Johnson's a little bit older, Henry's a little, if you're doing the years.
Still the same year. Everyone, I guess, forgot Hunter Henry tore his ACL that year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Under the radar.
I finally posted sports memorabilia. Yeah. So, by the way, we have a Discord, ! Discord in Twitch chat. You can get the link there. There is a sports memorabilia. Thank you for finally posting in that, because I was about ready to delete it because I made it about 10 days ago and then no one ever posted in that channel, which is always my nightmare. Man, besides Thursday Night Football, I'm ready for more college football this weekend. I thought there'd be a chance for me to go home so I can see USC UM, but no such luck.
That's in Michigan, right?
Yes, that's at the Big House, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that one. I also am in a desperate need to get new USC gear for my wardrobe. I have none of it right now. My cat ruined.
Not even
my
a hat?
What?
Not even a hat?
I had a hoodie. I had like a head with a red hoodie with block lettering USC on it, but my cat ruined it. So I am
good cat.
Yeah.
Right. Good job.
But yeah, no, I'm ready for that. But I might as well ask people how we feel about the Tigers right now. Tigers aren't playing tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Twins lost, so we're
tied.
We're even now.
We're even right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to get a full game. They got the tiebreaker, but that's insane.
Well,
man.
there's a good chance because we have 4 against of the 7 remaining. I think there's 3 or 4 against the Orioles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Orioles.
And then the White Sox to end it.
Yeah, White Sox and Orioles, and I'm pretty sure the Orioles, they're only up 5 from the rest of the pack as well. So there's a good chance the Orioles could end up slipping down the stretch too.
Yep. I think we got Tampa Bay in between there too. I think it's like Orioles, Tampa, and then White Sox to
Yeah,
end
yeah.
it.
No, there's 9. So 3 against at Oriole, 3 Tampa, 3 Chicago. 6 of those games are at home to end the year, and Comerica should be bumping.
Yeah, that's
Ending
gonna
with
be
the White
exciting.
Sox, the stroke of luck like no other, man.
Or it could be cursed. It could be really cursed. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're gonna come back and clip me saying that when it's
Right.
Yeah.
Freezing cold takes.
yeah.
Otani one home run away from what? Is he close to
I
like
think he's at 50,
50
to
or
50-50.
got you.
Actually, I think he hit 50-50 already. I think you're off. I think he
Yeah,
already
he
made.
hit 50
Yeah,
already.
yeah. I was about to say
Okay.
I was just checking my email from work, and yeah, he's already at 50-50. The
Crazy.
Dodgers, by the way, are putting up a okay. That game is final 20-4. Dodgers, Marlins
Mm.
in baseball.
Whoa.
Yeah, but yeah.
I would say it's a football score aside from that four.
Otani hit home run 51. So yeah, 50 strikeouts, 50 home runs. That's good.
That's pretty good. Not too shabby.
Where does Scoople start for yeah, okay, so Scooble's gonna start the Tampa Bay series.
Yeah, because he pitched what, day before yesterday?
Yeah, no, he pitched yesterday actually.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy run, man. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of checked out watching them closely. And then, obviously once they kind of got back going, everyone's hopping in. But my dad, who is a huge baseball guy, he kind of always keeps me up to
Yeah.
date. It's kind of one of our little topics. And, as they started inching closer and closer, winning here and there, I said, well, let me get back in this thing. And it's been great. I mean,
Yeah. No, I kind of
insane.
wrote him off a while back, so now I'm kind of just living. I kind of see it as house money. But knowing my abilities, I am also terrified of having to process both Tigers playoff baseball and Lions football at the same time. I'm probably going to get overloaded. But anyway, we should get back into this. We want to spend enough time to do this. Let you guys get back, because I know Thursday Night Football, this is a crap of a game. Although I do got to say, through 2 games, the Patriots have not looked as bad as I think people expected them to look.
I agree.
Gonna
Defense
be a
is
good
looking
game.
kind of solid, at least
Yeah.
that first game.
I don't think this is that bad of a matchup. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, well, I was talking with someone, I think he was like a former Patriots O-lineman, and he was trying to argue, like, look, man, like, this is O-line, there's going to be some continuity for them. Like, they're not just jumping in there. I don't know when Drake May finally plays, but Jacoby Brissett's been pretty good for them so far.
He's good.
And,
Yeah.
they've still got Ramondre Stevenson, and they've got the O-line to do all these things with it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the last few years, Jacoby Brissett's been kind of in that like Gardner Minshew tier
Geno
of like
Smith, yeah.
just short enough to not be a good starter, but good enough to step in as a quality 6 to 10 game backup. And
Yeah.
he's got the continuity in the Patriots system. So
yeah, I'll be curious to see when they do bring in Drake May and see what he looks like there. But you want to try to take your time with Drake May.
yeah, I think that's a
Sure.
2025 thing.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. I also heard that, like, at the very least, it was probably time to kick Bill out, because, like, I had heard something about, like, they had, like, conflicting voices in their headsets and everything in New England. It was just nobody was really in charge there at the end. It's just kind of like,
Really?
you know,
That's odd for a Belichick thing, unless,
Yeah.
unless he went the Jimbo Fisher route and just mentally checked out.
Possibly.
kind of
Didn't
hard to
he
tell.
like show interest going somewhere, like maybe Atlanta? and
Atlanta, yeah, he
They,
did.
they didn't want him.
Well,
Was
I think
that
the problem
kind of the
is,
story, or?
yeah, the problem is any kind of Bill hire would be probably short term, and I
Right.
think Atlanta wanted Raheem Morris for a long term hire to develop,
Yeah.
some of their talent that they have. And that's just not something you're going to get with Bill. Bill's going to stick around for about 1-2 seasons, try to hit the all-time wins record, and then just kind of fade out.
Honestly, I don't want to drag on too much, but one thing I've been thinking about is if Ben Johnson has like even a lukewarm year instead of just a red hot year, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if we get him for a couple more seasons because he kind of almost like turned that page now of like he likes being here. He likes, he has continuity, and you have hot names now like Clint Kubiak and like Dave Canales got poached last year, who's the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. I mean, he was
Yeah,
almost
new
got hired
names come up
last
all
year.
the time, right?
Yeah, it's just like, man, that window might have or that window might have come and gone for Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
Where
always hard to see when there's so many,
yeah,
places that need filling this year. You were probably looking at like Chicago and the Giants,
yeah,
at
not
the very least, needing new
if
head
anyone can fix
coaches.
Daniel Jones.
What's that?
If anyone can fix Daniel Jones,
I know ownership loves Daniel Jones, but I don't think anyone wants to coach Daniel Jones. Would Jera
disgusting.
hire Bill? I don't. I don't think Jerry would hire Bill Belichick. I don't think that's something Jerry would be interested in, having that kind of power
Little
dynamic
ego
with
battle.
Bill. Yeah. I've
He
seen some.
likes the big names, though. It kind of feeds into his ego getting a Bill Belichick too. It's kind of
A bit,
Yeah, but
yeah.
Mike McCarthy kind of gives off, for lack of a better term, submissive vibes.
Well, that was the whole thing with Jason Garrett, right? Jerry likes a guy he can control, and Bill wants to have, like,
Jerry Jones.
Bill
Yeah,
wants to
Jerry
have
Jones.
some, like, personnel control. And so does
Jerry's not going
Jerry.
to hire the Sigma male.
I've heard some crackpots say like Philadelphia, but I could not see that, but
Oh
maybe.
no, Bill's not making it Philly.
No, God. Eagles fans, like, that's the fun part. As I saw people depressing from 1-1 with the Lions, I'm like, there's different flavors of 1-1. And Eagles fans really hate their 1-1. I think Eagles
Yeah.
fans all hated their 1-0.
Eagles fans will always find something to whine about,
Yeah.
man. They were,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they need to learn the hard way. Have they
But
forgotten what the bad days look
no,
like?
but like I will give them this. Sirianni is kind of bad as a coach.
I don't think so.
It's all right. It's all right.
Eagles could be up 80 points and we get booed for missing a pass.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
All right,
Lord
we're
Gufo, thank you for the subscription. Just going to leave this here. All right, I think we should get back into it because we're about like 25 minutes away from kickoff. So let's get you guys out
Let's
of
do
here
it.
and get this potato in the oven. Pride of Detroit POD per view. We are back live and starting to break down Lions and Cardinals. I want to talk about 2 points of outlook for this game. The first off is red zone efficiency and Jared Goff. Let's start with actually the other way around. Let's start with Jared Goff. I want to ask you guys, what's the one thing you think Jared Goff needs to improve on in this game? Assuming this game is going to be a Lions win, what does Jared Goff work on to be the reason for that win?
I feel like he took a few risks. Like he kind of got keyed in on like his first read a little bit last game. I know sometimes that has to do with pressure. Once again, I think Ragnow kind of had a bad game. But I just feel like he keyed in on a few of those things to where the pressure was there, but it wasn't quite there yet. He could have waited a second. I think one was like Parker Hesse. I think he was in at fullback possibly. I don't know. It may have been Vaki. I don't remember exactly, but that pass to JMO for potentially a game-winning touchdown. If he just would have waited like a half second, it was some things there. So just being patient, you know, trusting the process a little bit. Just give us an extra half second instead of forcing it. I feel like, he forced a few things to JMO. He forced a few to Amon Ra as well. So, just a little bit of patience. And, if it's not there, I'm not going to say take a sack, but you can throw it away, live to fight another day. Don't force it in because the Cardinals are kind of opportunistic on their defense, whether it's blitzing, whether it's trying to get turnovers. So it's better off just losing that down than losing the turnover battle on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start. His accuracy, his confidence. his ability to get the ball to his receivers, his ability to not be colorblind and look at his receivers. I mean, it's just been atrocious through 2 weeks, and so much worse than the stat line will show. There are probably at least five interceptions that would be interceptions that have quite literally been dropped from defensive backs' hands, and at least three or four of those were to defensive backs where there was no Lions receiver in the vicinity. And it looks like Jared Goff is trying to stretch his ability and stretch the field vertically and stretch the field horizontally and go, 10, 15 yards down the sideline, which he's not used to. But his confidence isn't there. The accuracy isn't there. The timing isn't there. And I'm truly at a loss for where you even start at fixing that without bar the option of Ben Johnson just handicapping the offense again, because that may be your best bet at this point. But
Well,
yeah, I don't know where to start.
I do think it starts with just being cool under pressure. Like, he's definitely reverted back to the quarterback who, if you start to put pass rush on him, he seems to just kind of start going through his progressions a lot faster. And you can't really try to force the ball almost 20 times to Amon-Ra St. Brown again. I know St. Brown's good. Right. He'll get you 10 receptions, but you need to start looking at Sam Laporta more. And Jameson Williams has been phenomenal through these first few weeks. You kind of need him involved too. You need to get back to what you were good at, which was spreading the ball around. Some of that does come from better pass protection from the O-line, but also for, again, you just can't get rattled first time you see a edge start to really push Taylor Decker or something. But that kind of, you bring up Ben Johnson. That kind of brings us to the second point too. And I guess my point, as far as if we're doing this hypothetical Lions win, what does Ben Johnson improve on? I think I said it on the POD cast. I want to see a lot more of a balanced offense out of this. There's no reason on God's green earth that I should ever have to look at a box score after the game and see that Jared Goff had 55 passing attempts in a game. The run game is a big part of your identity. Your O-line is set up for running the ball and opening up holes for Gibbs and Montgomery. And this helps Jared Goff too 55 attempts means he's playing hero ball. He's basically forced to be the hero. Jared Goff can't be the hero for you. He can be the guy who's running your engine and identifying defenses and, making plays on pass, but he should not be the end-all be-all. You have to run the ball as well, and I think that also goes into red zone efficiency as well, is getting your run game a lot more involved and not getting just blasted on bubble screens, like giving Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery more workload to handle more yardage pass situations, controlling the clock a lot more and controlling tempo. And I think that's what Ben Johnson's got to look at coming into this game.
No, I agree. And I feel like he's been stubborn. Don't be stubborn. If something isn't working, let it go. If the bubble screen isn't working, let it go. I think he's been sticking to his script a little too tight. Like, hey, this is my script. This is what I'm going to do. Second half, if Vita Vea is out, you shouldn't pass the ball 5 times in a row. There's no excuse for that. Vita Vea is out, so your script has to change now. He's the reason why you don't run it as much. So that script probably did have Jared Goff throwing more, not 55 times more, but I think even Campbell mentioned, hey, this week we're going to try to pass to set up the run. And that's probably because Vita Vea is in the game. He's one of the best interior linemen. So once he's out, don't throw the ball 5 times in a row. Let's now bring David Montgomery in. We didn't see David Montgomery for a while. It was a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, that's stubborn. You got to change things up. Once the interior is weakened, all right, we got to switch this up. Let's give it to David Montgomery a little bit more. I even mentioned it before, that series before last, and you're throwing this pass to Jameson Williams, JMO, where the week before you ran down their throats to win in overtime. So you got to be adjustable. Don't be stubborn. And if your script isn't working, or if the personnel changes on our side or on theirs, you got to roll with that and change things up.
Yeah, I think I look at this, and if the Lions walk away with a win, it starts with an opening 2 to 3 drives where Tim Patrick has 3 to 4 receptions. Opening drive, you should be feeding Tim Patrick the ball at least 2 times. Like, you look at the past 2 weeks, JMO's the only threat over top, and that's going to happen, twice a game he's going to burn you. What are the odds Goff is going to convert that to begin with? Beyond that, there's no vertical stretch to the defense. That's part of why Amon-Ra doesn't have any separation. Part of why Sam Laporta doesn't have any separation, doesn't get any targets. Part of why the screens last week were blown up. If the defense doesn't respect you more than 70 yards downfield, which they have no reason to at this point, then everything else falls apart, and your safeties can play lower, and your linebackers can cheat up a little bit because who Sam Laporta is going to beat you vertically? No, it's not going to happen. So if this game is going to start off well and the Lions are going to start on the right foot, which they have to against the Cardinals defense, if the Cardinals get out hot like they have in recent weeks, up 17-0, God forbid, we're in trouble. But if this game goes well, it starts with feeding the ball to Tim Patrick, so the Cardinals secondary has to respect the vertical game.
And I think you can push around the Arizona Cardinals line a little bit easier than you can push around the line for the Rams or the I was going to say the Buccaneers, but yeah, even the Rams. I don't think this is the same caliber of D line that you
Yeah.
really have to, or front seven that you really have to worry about from the Cardinals versus those two teams, and that should open you up over the middle and kind of and up front a little bit more. We haven't talked at all about kind of dealing with the Cardinals defense, but that really seems to be their the where I would probably attack if I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The other big question is who's covering Marvin Harrison Jr. in this game?
Feels like it has to be Carlton Davis.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. He seems to do well against, some of the number one receivers. I remember, like once we brought him in, you start doing your research. I think Justin Jefferson mentioned he was one of his toughest matchups. Um, I think Davis will do, admirably. He'll probably be the one to be on him the most. Davis got a little bit of size, some experience. So um I'm not as worried about Marvin Harrison, not because he isn't their best receiver, he is. But when you talk about like Greg Dortch, maybe kind of working some of the slots, seem like slot receivers have been more difficult for us. Cooper Kupp, he did his things. He caught 30 balls that game. Chris Godwin was the only receiving threat for Tampa Bay. He's back in the slot now. So I'm a little bit worried about what they do in the slot. I don't know exactly who is kind of exclusively in the slot. I would assume Greg Dortch is probably one of those guys. So I'm kind of looking at that even more. Harrison's going to do his thing, but we've been kind of weak against the slot so far.
Yeah. And I think another point, if Tyrion Arnold plays, I don't think it'd be the worst idea to play him against Marvin Harrison. I mean, like, yes, he's a physical specimen, but he makes his money off of those contested physical balls. And anyone who plays against Marvin Harrison is going to get handsy. I think that may be a good opportunity for Tyrion Arnold to play the way he's played the last couple weeks without it necessarily drawing a flag every time, and frees up Carlton Davis to, shadow someone else a little stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any other threats on the Cardinals defense that going back? Sorry, I know I'm flipping back and forth between offense and defense quite a bit. But are there any other threats on the defense where you kind of get worried that they might try to take away a part of the Lions game, or is there like any one guy in particular that stands out for you?
Buda Baker, he's a disruptor. So, we kind of talked about Goff, like, being a little worried. I don't want to say happy feet, but whatever it's been the last couple games where he's not as patient. And Buda Baker is the type of guy that can do that. So I think it's important for our running backs. They're gonna have to do their job with blocking because he's gonna come in there, he's gonna blitz, he's gonna show a blitz, and then he's gonna, go out into coverage. He's probably the one main player on defense I would be the most worried about. He's a disruptor. He kind of reminds me of Branch when we had Branch in that nickel spot disruption. So he would probably be the main guy. And that's going to take our tight ends, our running backs, everybody kind of chipping in, making sure Goff has time to throw.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. He really is their kind of, I don't know, for all our Michigan listeners, kind of like the Jabril Peppers at Michigan, can do it all. He'll play every level, like you said, Jerry. And so it's kind of like, the old adage about Ed Reed is just, you find him before every play. If Jared Goff can find Buda Baker before every play, then you'll do a lot better. Beyond that, I really don't see much of a threat by the Cardinals defense, and I hope I don't get cold takes exposed for this, but it looks like a weak linebacker and secondaries group. I mean, Starling Thomas was brought in and made one of their top corners relatively quickly because of just how thin it was, and he, didn't make the Lions 53. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for the Lions to open up the offense a little bit and uncork the top.
Yeah, and I think that does. It would allow this, if you can control the tempo as a Lions offense in this game. I think that's a lot closer to what makes them comfortable and makes the game plan work, and can hopefully get the ground game more involved. The only other note I will add is that, I think through 2 games so far, the Lions have been pretty good at shutting down the run. It's a different question when you do have to worry about the quarterback scrambling, but through 2 games, like, Tampa Bay barely got any rushing yards whatsoever. I know Rashad White left the game and everything, but he only racked up about 18 yards on about 10 carries, and the Rams stopped running Kyron Williams about halfway into the game just because they were so far down. But even when they weren't really terribly efficient. So this is probably the best running back that you're facing so far in James Conner. But I also think at this point, the Lions defense has at least shown you that, not to worry too terribly much when it comes to stopping the run.
Yeah, that should definitely be a strength of ours. And then speaking of defense, additionally, Chris, Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to be going up against probably Kelvin Beachum. Now, Beachum is kind of banged up himself. They've been rotating Beachum and Jonah Williams on that right side, but Jonah Williams is out. They just put him on IR. So you kind of got like a semi-backup right tackle who's also hobbled. That was kind of like similar to what we had
This
with
past
Tampa
week,
Bay.
yeah, because they were putting
Yeah,
out like
so
a reserve right tackle against him, and he was just tearing the poor.
Yo,
Even when I think they shifted the running back to help to spot help on the tackle, like Aiden Hutchinson was just eating it all up.
absolutely.
All right, well, I think we're almost near the end of this, so let's talk about things we think we know about this game. If you're new to this, we don't necessarily do score predictions or anything else. It's just one facet of the game that we think we know is going to happen in this game. So Hamza, what do you think you know pretty well about this game as you look into? It's not quite a crystal ball; it's more like a reflective sheet of aluminum.
shoot. I mean, I'm going to go off of what we talked about the last segment. I think I know Tim Patrick is going to get at least call it 5 receptions. That's a bit of an ambitious target. It has to happen. If you're Ben Johnson, if you're Dan Campbell, and you look at the film from last week, and it's how do we make sure this doesn't happen again, and for future weeks, because your next week opponent and the week after that are going to look back on the film from this. It has to start with Tim Patrick and stretching the field there. I don't care if it's play action or screen or, just getting creative with the routing. He has to get the ball, and you have to stretch the field there.
I like it. In honor of Hamza, our special teams guru here at Pride of Detroit, mine's is Bates. He's gonna kick a 50-plus yard field goal. He might kick a couple of them, and I got a few reasons why. For one, I don't think Dan Campbell is as stubborn as people think. He's aggressive because it works. And our red zone, he wants to get to the red zone last year because it worked. And he wasn't as confident in potentially, the Money Badgers' leg strength. I'm not saying he's going to abandon his aggressive ways, and I think he's going to have confidence our red zone is going to turn things around. But I think this week he is going to prioritize getting points just a little bit more. The defense has even improved. I think that kind of had a role in his aggressiveness as well. Hey, we need 7 points. So I think he's going to kick in a few of those situations where he would normally go for it. So I think Jake Bates is going to have an opportunity for a 50-yard field goal. He's going to make it. He might make a couple.
Yeah, I think, and I'll let Hamza speak to this too, just because we're talking kickers. It's his favorite thing besides punters. I think having someone like Jake Bates, I'm not going to lie. I think Sunday was a very big day for Jake Bates, for not just because he made every field goal he was asked to, but also in that it feels like now this organization has confidence in him as the kicker right now. Now that can always change, but I think we've always had to emphasize that Jake Bates is kind of new to the kicking game. He was always going to be a bit developmental in it, but under pressure for a lot of these kicks, he's shown absolute fortitude out there. The only time they really didn't trust him was when they had the option to maybe go for 59 yards and they decided to punt instead. But I do think that does change the calculus for Dan Campbell, that you do have a kicker who's made, I believe, what is it now? 5 field goals, long from 30. What's the long? 35, I believe. But yeah, he's been 5 for 5 so far this year, Hamza.
Yeah, I mean, That punt is a great point. I was really confused by that. Honestly, you'll never catch me on record saying this, but I hated the decision to punt there. It was a good
Yes,
punt, but I
I
hated
hated
that.
it.
Right.
I think I quoted surrender index at the time.
Yeah, and
Like,
I think the only explanation, even there were several other times I think Jake Bates kicked field goals under 30 yards last week. Very uncharacteristic of Dan Campbell. Like Jerry said, the explanation has to be he trusts his defense more than last year. Like otherwise, why are you kicking field goals from the 4 yard line? Well, why are you kicking? Why are you punting from the opponent's 40 yard line? It doesn't make sense. And so to that end, it always confused me. I was like, well, it's not like Money Badger couldn't make those 30, 35 yard kicks. So defense has to be it. You got to trust the defense. And, especially against a team like the Cardinals, like Jerry said, points are going to count more, yeah, on a premium. So I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, just don't get stalled in the red zone. Won't need to have him kick so much.
Easy as that. He should
Yeah.
be the
That'd
coach.
be nice.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here on the purview. So, again, every week we put these out, get you the preview from the Lions side of things. We do also have First Bite on Pride of Detroit Direct. That is going to be with Jeremy, and they're going to be talking with a Cardinals beat writer or analyst that they get and can break down things with the Cardinals side of things. So between the two of them, you have plenty of stuff to get you ready for Sunday. I'm Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, Perfett. That's Jerry Mallory, at Jerry Mallory NFL, and Hamza Bakush, Punt God, over at Hamza Pod. That's it for us. Until next time, we will see you Starside.
Recording stopped.
Look at that. Look at that.
Sweet.
Perfect timing,
Time
right
for
before this
kickoff.
starts. Yeah, just before kickoff. Yeah. By the way, I see our Cardinals fan in our YouTube chat. Hello, and I appreciate your input, House of Cards. It's actually some good stuff there. I don't really get to talk it too much when we're in the middle of recording it because we do this podcast basically live for our fans as well. Let me swap loadouts.
I'm flying out to Arizona on Saturday for this game,
Ooh.
and I was gonna bring all my Lions gear that I have is like sweaters, jackets, because of the Lions. I'm
Yeah.
going in the winter, and I was gonna bring my sweater, and my mom was like, "It's supposed to be 98 degrees."
Yeah, I was going to say.
No.
I just got a T-shirt on Amazon. I'm like, all right, I hope
There
this
you
can
go.
Yeah, let me see what Glendale's forecast is supposed to be.
No shirtless Hamza, 98 degrees, painting a
come
blue
on,
L on
man.
your chest. I
paid
mean,
too much for those tickets to get booted out before the game's over.
No, Glendale, Arizona, not Glendale, California, please. Yeah, damn. Yeah, Saturday is going to be a high of Sunday. Excuse me, is going to be a high of 98.
is there is it retractable their stadium?
Indoor, right? I don't think they even retract it.
Oh, it's just indoor only. Okay.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
their big thing is they can roll like the grass outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will it be climate controlled at least? Is this your first road Lions game, Hamza? Have you been to a few?
I think it's the first road game. I guess unless you count the Giants preseason game. I did go to MetLife for that, so I'm in New York, but yeah,
No, it counts. We'll count it.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't
And
gone to
then,
too many on the road. I had like the Chargers game last year, so
that's
I think
okay.
that means in all time I've only gone to like 3 Lions games in my life, and I think I'm 3 of 3.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Yeah, because I think so. It was my birthday on September 21st back in 2014. Against the Packers. Lions led wire to wire, and I mostly remember that
true.
game.
I went to Green Bay last year, so that
yeah.
was my first Sunday Night Football,
Yeah.
or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was my first one.
Oh, that
Yeah,
was a great one.
I mostly remember that game because Crackman was sitting behind me. We actually got lower bowl tickets. Craciola was sitting behind me, and he was like cursing the whole time. Even though I'm like, Lions are leading wire.
No
to wire.
way.
The 2014 Packers, was that the first time they won in Lambeau in like 20-something years?
No, that was in Detroit.
Okay.
They might have won later that year, but like the 21st September, that was in Detroit.
I see.
That was a good year. That was that
yeah.
11-5 year, right?
Yeah.
Defense
yeah.
year.
And then the next game was Thanksgiving 2015. You, Jerry, me, and Alex all went to that game. We all sat in separate seats, and that was the Eagles beat down on Mark Sanchez and the Calvin Johnson record.
That's right. We got to get together a little bit before the game. We all
Yeah. And then I think we all witnessed fights with Eagles fans in 3 separate sections.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. That was a rowdy one. I think I had season tickets that year. That was my only year doing
It was still cheap.
yeah, when it was still cheap.
Mm.
Man,
And
it's
then
crazy. I remember as a kid driving down I-94, and this was like, Lions are still, and it was like a billboard for season tickets starting at like $273.
Yeah.
Man,
that
inflation's
is
crazy.
not the case now.
That's a
Ooh,
game
boy.
ticket now.
Oh boy. All right. Well,
That's crazy. Yeah.
We'll get out of here. I know our numbers are dipping because we are basically done. So let me get you guys on out of here. We got Sunday Night Football on, and I want to go enjoy it tonight. So thanks everyone for watching.
Thursday.
Thursday. Right. I keep saying Sunday.
Not yet.
I know. By the way, for those of you who listen to Fox Sports Radio, in the morning, I will be on at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday as an update anchor for a couple hours.
For Detroit?
For all Fox Sports Radio affiliates, we do syndication. So
nice.
I don't know if there is an FSR affiliate in Detroit, though. Actually, I think there is. It's the Gambler. It's like on the AM dial, I believe.
Yeah. It's been a while, but I think, I think so.
Yeah, what is it? 120, 12:30 a.m.
1270 maybe?
No, 12. Oh no, wait, that's in Toledo. My 12:30 is in Toledo.
We definitely had one. When I was on midnights a couple years back, I would listen to it on the way home.
Radio signals change constantly. It's But anyway. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Let me